Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome once again to our session on increase your productivity and efficiency at work. I hope you enjoyed the session yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed the challenge as well. I saw a lot of conversation happening on the social media groups. Feroz, how many people have submitted their assignment so far? If you can give us a number.
24.
24 out of about 1,200 individuals who are attending the session. That's a very small number. These 24, what we are going to do is we are going to, Feroz, if you can lock them at this point. So these 24, we're going to check their work. I have checked some of them, and yes, they were correct. So good job, Khurram. They've learned their nested ifs. And for those who've done it right, I am going to personally send gifts from ACCA to your addresses. So we will be contacting you. Those who haven't, fine, you haven't qualified for the gifts, but you must still continue to learn. And learning will not come unless you dive in. Learning will not happen unless you immerse yourself in this entire experience. I know that the word taxation may sound a little, I don't know, difficult. It should put you off at times. But it's a reality. And, whether or not you're an accountant, you're affected by taxes. So therefore, that's the most basic thing that you should be able to do on your worksheets. Now, today, we're going to inch up our effort and see if some very, very interesting and important functions that we're working on today. And the most important one here is, I think, what if analysis. And that is something that most of the accountants need to use when they're doing projections, when they're doing planning for the future, when they're doing risk assessment, etc. So, these are things that are very important. And Khurram calls it beautiful. I don't know, beautiful is one word, but I would want to call it most practical feature of Microsoft Excel, that is pivot tables. So we are also going to look at pivot tables and then dashboard reporting. So a very important session today, I must say. If you have understood today's session very well, you would know, I would say about 60% of what Excel should do for you. The rest of the 20% is all gimmickry and that you can learn on the way. But today's session, I must say, is very, very important. So first of all, I would expect to see all assignments submitted. If you're facing any issues, if you want some support, ask your colleagues. There is no shame in asking colleagues, okay? If you don't want to ask the colleagues, you can ask us, you can ask Khurram, you can ask Feroz, myself. We're all available, okay? So, but I want to see more people turning in their work. I want to see more tax calculators. When I was drawing out the list of taxes in different countries, I went into a depression. Why do some countries pay a lot more tax than others? So I think that was an interesting comparison as well, and some learning for me at the same time. So with that, I would want to hand over to Khurram, and we will take on the session from here. I would expect the session to be as lively, as interactive as it used to be. So I've asked Feroz and Khurram to unmute participants from time to time, ask them difficult questions, build up scenarios. One scenario that Khurram and I were discussing today was a loan amortization. It could be various other situations that you could be working on, but with the knowledge of Excel that has been shared with you so far, I think you're all geared up to tackle such basic problems yourself. So with that, I hand over to Khurram. Khurram, over to you for today's session. We have a tight packed agenda, so let's.
Yes, please carry on.
I was just saying that we have a packed, tight agenda, so let's kick off.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you, Harun. As Mr. Harun has just pointed out that today's agenda, we will be focusing on the what-if analysis of the feature that Excel has given us. There are three tools in that category. We will be focusing on the basic idea about what goal seek is, what data table is, and then we will discuss what is scenario manager, right? So these are the three features that will be included in today's session, and we will see that how these will be used in different scenarios, right? With some relatively practical examples, and then we will move to the second part, that is the pivot table. So Harun Sab said that it is a beautiful feature. Yes, indeed, it is a beautiful feature, but for me, it is a killer feature, right? Majority of the tasks that you can do with this feature. We learned yesterday that that what is the sum ifs function. So it is built in pivot table. So there are many functions we we have learned, we have used, but in pivot table there is no need to use this feature, and you will get what you want. So it's very simple, it's very easy to use, but if you should know what are the various functionalities of the pivot table and how we should use it. If you are able to use it, then I assure you that you can achieve the higher level of efficiency and productivity, right? So let's begin today's session with the what if analysis. Okay, the sum of the files that we will be using today is already uploaded here. You can download from there, or if you have the access to the uh, a Google Drive, right? So you can download from there as well. Where it should be, if you access to have this, uh, we have, okay. We have the training folder, right? In the training folder, we have three subfolders: features, functions, and practice files. Open the feature folder, and you may see we have one folder which is what if analysis. If you open it up, and you will see three files. There are four files. We will not discuss the solver, but we will discuss data table, goal seek, and scenario manager, right? So these are the three sheets which are already uploaded here. You can download either from here or from the Google Drive. So I will be, first of all, the simple stuff, which is the goal seek. Okay, I'm opening up the goal seek example, the file, right? And example number one. Okay, this is the basic. Let me zoom it a bit. Okay. So what actually is a goal seek? Uh, as the name suggests, goal is your objective. Seek to search. So using this feature, you can find the answers to some of the questions, right? If I look at this example, if you go back to your school days, maybe class 2, 3, where we learn how to multiply, how to divide, simple arithmetic, basic concepts, right? And we have learned that if you multiply by 8 by 7, then you will get answer which is equal to 56, right? But suppose, but in the examination or in the quizzes, we might get this sort of question that there is an 8, we have a value 8, and we have answer which is equal to 56, right? So the question is, what number we should multiply by 8 to get the answer? So in this case, the answer is 56, which is the goal, which is the objective that we want to achieve, which is already there. We have this objective in front of us, right? And we have one parameters, we have one value which is 8. Then what number, right? So goal seek. This is the goal. We are seeking that how to achieve this from this model. So we multiply by 8, the number we need to identify, we need to fetch, we need to search, set what number we should have here in this cell to get the answer which is equal to 56, right? So this is a multiplication problem. So in multiplication problem, first of all, what we need to do, or in goal-seek or what other tools of what-if analysis, the first thing is we need to understand the problem and then model it. So this is the simple problem of multiplication. Let me delete this. Okay. If you look at here, we have 8. Let me, we have 7 here, and here we have 56. But if I double click it or press F2, you can see this is actually a complete model. We have B1 cell reference, we have B2 cell reference, we have number, there is 8, and there is, we need to find out, we need to calculate using goal seek, which is should be in B2, and here should be the answer. So this is the model. You need to mathematically represent that problem in an Excel sheet to be able to apply the goal seek feature, right? So let's begin. We have already modeled it. So we have nothing in this cell. So we want to find the value of B2 in order to get answer is equal to 56. That should be in B3, right? So let's start. So in order to find where the goal seek is, you need to press the data tab. We have this data tab, right? And in the data tab, we have in the forecast group, we have what if analysis. If you click it, you should see 3 features of what if analysis. The second one is goal seek. Click goal seek, right? So this is goal seek. 3 questions that we need to ask here. The first one is set cell. Set cell means a value that has to be a cell that contain a formula. So this is the prerequisite of using goal seek. We have to have a cell that must contain a formula or a function. In this example, where is a formula? Formula is in B3, and B3 is a cell where our answer should be, and it is equal to 56. We have set cell. In this case, set cell is this one, which is B3, right? And in this cell, what value we want? We want 56. So this is the goal, this is the objective, this is the answer we are looking at. And by changing cell, we in this cell, what should be the number? If we multiply that number with 8, we get answer is equal to 56, right? So by changing cell, so we need to select this one, which is B2, right? Click and then select this one, expand it. So we have answers all the questions of goal seek. So I repeat, goal seek, in which we have the first parameter, which is set cell. That is the cell where we have to have our answer, and that answer is what? In this case, it is 56. And remember, the prereq is the set cell is the cell that contains a formula. So we have the formula in B3, right? And the last one, the last question is, by changing cell, which is B2, what whatever with the value here, it will be replaced by the new value. If I click, it will determine, it will calculate the value within the cell of B2 in order to get the answer is equal to 56. Click OK, and you see we will have the answer. So this is how it calculates, right? 8 multiplied by 7 is equal to 56. I again repeat, goal seek, and we have set cell. Set cell is this one, right? B3, two value. We want 56 in that cell, which is B3, and what uh, uh, and refer to the cell where the value should come up. And we have something wrong with the mouse. Okay, shift F2, and let me type it from here. We have B2. B2 is the cell, and click OK, and it is calculating. So there is a problem with the mouse, but that is okay, right? So this is how it goes. I hope it is clear now. Let's do the example number 2. Example number 2. Okay, this is another scenario. This is more realistic scenario, but again, this is the problem in example number 1, multiplication problem, but we have put it in more realistic way. For example, uh, these are all multiplication problems. If you look at, we have the items sold, we have price per unit, and if you look at this, we have the cell. So item sold, price per unit, this is not profit, this should be a sales. For example, this is the sales, this is sale. Okay, so if you multiply this by this, you get 2500. Now the scenario is, for example, you need to make a decision, right? Or say you want to set the price of an item or a product, right, per unit. But the question is that there is an objective you have to achieve. For example, you want to achieve a sale of, say, 35,000 in this current quarter. What should be the price per unit of your product? So that is the question. So we have the item, right? That is in that case 1,000. What we want to set the price of the product per unit, right? And we also want to achieve the sale, which is say 125 or whatever figure. So let it be 125,000. What should be the price of a product? So we can use a goal seek feature to answer such question, right? Again, we have to model it. Again, this is a mathematical multiplication problem. So let it be, let apply this what if analysis. What if goal seek? Now, same thing. Okay. In this case, set cell is this one, because here is the sale value will come. Set cell is this one. To value in this cell, what the answer should be? 1,25,000, right? This cell should contain 1,25,000, and by changing cell, this is the price, right? So we want to set the price of our product per unit. So by changing cell, this is the cell which is B2, right? Click cells and click OK. Now you will see the price is 125. Again, it's just a simple calculation, but this is how the goal seek feature works. Okay, so we can apply these as well. Now let's come to example number 3. Okay, now this is more practical problem. I hope you have the concept of how we use goal seek feature. Let me do this for you, and then I will give you a 1-minute task to apply goal seek feature. But first of all, let's see how this we go about it. This is the calculating loan amount using goal seek, right? So we have, suppose we want to get the loan from the bank, or the salesperson from the bank offer us a loan of 300,000, right? The period means it is for 60 months, right? And rate is 20% per annum, right? So that is. So we have applied a PMT function. PMT function is a function that is used to calculate the monthly installment based on the constant payments, right? So this is the function. Okay, let me do it for you so that you can understand once again. So these are loan amount, this is the period, this is the rate. So we want to get the loan of 300,000 for 60 months, right? So the payments that we want to made, that is 60 months at the rate of 20%, right? So we want to determine the installment. Okay, the mouse is not working properly, but okay, fine. So we will be using the PMT function. So this is the PMT function, right? The first thing is rate. So rate is present in cell B5. So this is the B5 because it is per annum and we are making payment monthly. So it has to be divided by 12, right? Then the second parameter is NPR, which is period. In that case, it is 60, right? It is not years, it is already in months. So we don't need to multiply it by 20, comma, and then we have the PV. The present value of the loan is 300, which is in B3. So I'm putting a B3 here, right? So there are two more parameters, which is it has to be paid either at the end of the period or at the beginning of the period. I'm skipping it, right? But that is the basic function that is used to determine the installment of a given loan with these conditions, right? So if I click, so I have this answer. So with this amount, with this time frame, and with this rate, this is the installment, right? 7,948.17. Okay. Now, the salesperson offer this much loan, right? But our monthly saving, or what we can pay maybe 5,000 a month. So I can tell this salesperson or the bank officer that I can only pay 5,000 per month. What should be the loan that I may get from the bank? So, right, the installment that I can pay is 5,000, right? How much loan I can get from the bank? These are the value, this is the formula, this is the function that we have get in order to determine the installment, right? Now, what we will be doing, we are now looking at a scenario where we can only pay 5,000 a month. So we need to calculate how much loan we can get from the bank. So we can use the goal seek feature. So let's apply it. Data tab, forecast group, what if analysis, goal seek, and we have here goal seek. So in this scenario, set cell is the cell where we have the formula, and this is the formula, right, which is B7. And what should be the value? In this example, that is 5,000, we can only pay 5,000 a month, right? Which cell we need to change? The loan amount, because we need to determine, we need to calculate how much we get the loan from the bank. Initially it is 300,000, right? But we need to determine on the basis of 5,000 monthly installment and this rate and period, how much the loan amount would be. So we have by changing cell, and the loan amount is in B3, select B3 and click OK. Once you click OK, and you will see that 1,88,000 something we will achieve, right? So this is, we have the answer. So any questions so far as goal seek is concerned? Okay, before that, go to a salary calculator using goal seek. I'm giving you the task, and if the participant have some questions on this, right, I can try to answer the questions. But for those who have already understood and they don't have any question, they can apply the goal seek feature on this problem. So let me first explain what is our requirement. So the salary calculation, for example, we have the basic pay, which is this much, and all other calculations are based on basic pay, right? For example, we have the basic pay, which is in B3. So allowances, 60% of B3, 40% of B3, transport 30% of B3, provident fund 10% of B3, tax is 10% of B3, and gross is rest is easy, right? So this is arbitrary calculations. So the thing is that we have already modeled this problem, and now the question is, for example, there is a new entrant, there is new potential employee. We have interviewed him, and we select him on the basis of his qualification, and then at the final phase of the interview, we say that how much your salary should be, what is the demand maybe, and he says that it may be 1,75,000, maybe 2,50,000, right? So the net pay is 2,50,000. So we should have 2,50,000 here. So the question is now, what should be the basic pay of this potential candidate if we get the net pay equal to 2,50,000, right? And similarly, what should be the distribution of the allowances and the deduction? So apply using goal seek, apply goal seek feature in order to determine the basic pay and other allowances and deductions, right? Go ahead. And now if you have any question on this particular task, you can ask, or you can ask any question on the goal seek. Yes, please. You have 1 minute to do this task. Yes, Feroz.
There are questions regarding the previous exercise.
Previous exercise,
Yes, the goal sheet that you were doing.
this one,
Exercise 4. Exercise 4. Yeah, this
exercise
one.
4.
No, no, exercise 3. I think it's exercise 3. Yes, that's it. Uh, Hashim with response to know if there are limitation in goals, how to deal with it.
What limitations that mm, okay, maybe it depends on the complexity of the model, right? If there are more variables, it consumes more times, but there are certain levels of iteration that it need to produce. But the normal scenarios that we do have at the workplace, the Excel provides enough iterations, right, to find the answer. But if yes, the um, if the model is complex and there are more variables involved, then yes, it might be possible that it is unable to get the right answer, but it will provide you the most probable answer. And for this limitation, right, we have another feature, which is the solver option. We can use solver that will take care of multiple variables involved in a model, and it may find the more appropriate answer. But goal seek feature is for only to find out the value of one variable, right? Any other question?
No.
Okay, fine. So hopefully that answers his question, and also you have done this. Okay, everyone has done this goal seek feature.
Yes, there are
Okay,
people who have written down their answers as well. Can you tell the correct answers so they would know if they have performed it correctly
okay.
or not?
Whatever their answer will be, let's find it out here. So let's
Yeah.
apply it. What if analysis, goal seek. So set cell is this one, which is the net pay. And in this cell, we should have the answer equal to 2,50,000. By changing cell is the basic pay, right? Click OK, and let's see what should be the answer. Okay, so we have the answers. In order to get the net pay equal to 2,50,000, we should have a basic pay this much, right? And these are the distribution of the allowances and the your deduction. If that is the answer and that is correct, I don't know, but goal seek feature has calculated it. So I believe in it, and it should be correct. Yes, Feroz, same answer.
Yes, most of them got it right.
Okay, fine. Majority of, if they've applied it correctly, then the answer should be the same. Okay, so this is the goal feature. Let's move to the second don't save it. Okay, let's take data table example. Okay, the data table example, the feature data table take care of some more variables, provide you the more information, right? So maybe let's go back to the data table example 1, for example, right? So there's a hodgepodge here, but okay, first of all, delete this one. Everyone, please delete this one. Okay, now let's take the scenario. So we have already discussed this model. So this is the amount. this is the loan amount, this is the period, and this is the rate, right? And we have applied the PMT function to get the installment. Now we want to analyze, right, from the varied values of the interest rate. For example, okay, for the 20%, we have this much amount, right? But what should be the installment, right, at 19%? What should be the installment at 18%? And similarly, 17 or 60%. So we want to find out the answers if there are change in the rates, right? So what data table does, it take care of the initial model, which is this one, and get the value of the variable that we want to analyze, right, and generates an answer of this a function. It keep on changing the value of say rate. So if we apply the data table feature, it will uses this function, but at this place it will take the value which is 19%. At this place it will take the value of rate equal to 18%, right? And it will generate a table with the answers of the installments, right? So what we have to do is, first of all, we have to have our model in place, which is there, and then we have, in order to apply the data tables, what we need to do. So there are three types of data tables. So one is known as the one variable data table, and other is known as the two variable data table. In one variable data table, there are two variations of that. One is the column table and one is the row table. So this is the example of the column table, right? So we want to produce a table, right, a column table with this particular model. Now, just create a table like this. For example, I'm doing it here, right? I'm doing it here so that everyone, let me, okay. There is a keyboard shortcut, right? Maybe at times we need to have more space, right? And we want to hide the ribbons. So in order to hide or unhide the ribbon, there is a keyboard shortcut which is Control F1. So I've just pressed Control F1 to hide the ribbon so that I have more space available here. So Control F1 is the keyboard shortcut to hide or unhide the ribbon. Okay, fine. So what I'm doing it, I'm applying the data table right here, right, that will have the value of installments based on this model. So what I will do, I will be rewriting this formula. That is one way, but we have the formula right over here. So we can take the cell reference is equal to this table. So I said there are two options. One option is that we can rewrite this formula here. And the second option is we take the reference of the cell that contain a formula. Okay, so I'm taking the reference here. So we have the value of output of this function. Now, from the cell where we have put in the formula or the cell reference, one row down, one column back, write the values that we want to analyze. So 19%, maybe this is the 19%, right? We want to have the 18%, right? We have the 17% or maybe the 16%, that's it. We have the 16%, right? So we have 16%. So I have typed all the values of the rates that I want to analyze and what their installment would be based on these interest rates. So once we do that, select this thing, select this table, right? Once selected, right, go to click data, then forecast group, what if analysis, select data table. So click data table. Again, we have a data table dialog box coming up, and again asking two questions: row input or column input. Since it is one variable data table, right? So one should be blanked, other we have to put the value. So since it is a column data table, right? So we need to ignore the row input. We have to have a value here. And what is the value? The rate, and that is from the model. This is the model. This is the rate. This is the value that we want to analyze. So click the cell. So E6 is a cell reference of the model that we have prepared here, right? And then click OK. Once you click OK, you should get the answer, and answer is this, that if this is the loan amount, this is the period, which is 60 months. If it is 19%, the installment would be this much. If it is 18%, installment would be this much. It is 17%, this is the installment, and so on and so forth, right? So this is one input or column input data table, right? Okay. Now the row input data table. The task is simple, procedure is easy. So we have the column table here. Now this is the example of the row table. So to apply the row table, instead of analyzing values, which was in column, in a column table, we put the values in rows. So these are the rows, the same values, right? Where should be the formula? Formula is on the left of this. So let me rephrase it. We are doing the same thing. We have the reference of this formula. One row up, one column down, right? One column up, one row up, one column forward, write all the values that we want to analyze. Once we do that, the rest of the task is again simple. Select this one, then data, what if analysis, data table. Now, in this case, column input cell should be empty because we are constructing a row table, right? In the row table, what we are analyzing, the rates. In that case, we have that is 20% because we are taking the value from there. So 20%, click OK, and we should have the same answer, but this time in the row. So this is how the row input table or the column input table, or row table or column table can be constructed, right? Let's take this example once again. Everything is fine. Now, in this example, we are taking care of the a period, the months. Now, the 60 months, the 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and 1 year, keeping rate is constant. So select this one, apply data, what if analysis, data table. Now we have the column input cell. This is a column input cell, and in this case we have 60, which is the period. Click OK, and we have the answer. This is the answer. If it is for 5 years, the answer is this. If it is 4 years, the answer is this, and so on and so forth. So this is how you can apply the one input data table, construct a one input data table. Now, there is another scenario, and the scenario is that we have to analyze two variables, two varied values of variables. Same example, we have want to develop a table, right, with changing values of the period and the changing values of the rate. So what I'm doing here, I'm deleting this. So I've deleted. We have put a formula, right, which is from the initial model. So this is the initial model we have created, right? We have the values, we have the formula here, right? So I want to now analyze that what will be the installment at 20%, but for 1 year. So I should have answer here, right? So we have the values of the rates in the columns. We have the values of the period in the row. And at the intersection of these two, right, we put a formula here. So this is the formula. At the bottom of the formula, values of one variables at the bottom, right, underneath that, and in the row in front of this. So once you do that, select all of these. After the selection, the rest of the task is simple. Click data, what if analysis, and then we have a data table. Now, since we are developing a two variable data table, so we have two changing values. So one is the row and one is the column. We have the rows here. So row is what? The period in months. So it should be, the row input cell should be this one, right? And the column input is the rate. The input column input cell is this much, this one, which is, and now click OK. And you will see that my answer is for this at the rate of 20% of this much 300,000 loan. If I take 1 year option, right, the installment should be this much. So this is how you can construct a data table, right? And the advantage of using the data table is, or the two input data table is, that you can get the different variation, the different say perspectives, right? So that is what if analysis. What if the value is changed from 60 to 48? What if the rate is changed from this to this much, right? So what should be the case? So in this case, we have two different changing values, and we get the corresponding answer. So this is what is data table is all about. So again, if you have a question, you can ask, but before that, let's do this one. So go to data table example 2, delete this part, right? Okay, now look at this scenario. So this is the profit, like this is the model. This is a simple model, the product, the price, the cost, right? And the sales and the profit. So sales is very simple, 15 to 500 will give you this sales. And the cost is 15,000 right now. We have the profit, sales minus cost is equal to profit. So the mathematical model we have put in here. Now what we want to do maybe a scenario is that we want to find out uh, that what should be the case if we change the price of our product by 10, by 20, by 30, and what should be the sale of the product of the current semester, of the current quarter. So we want to judge the profitability of uh, in terms of quantity and in terms of the product, the product. So you need to make a decision, right? In our inventory, right? How much quantity we should have of the given product. That may be the question number one, or the decision number one that you need to make. And the second is that what should be the price you need to set for the current quarter in order to achieve the profitability, maybe, right? Of or maybe you want to put your product on sale, and your target is that you should not get any losses, right? So it's a break even. So let's find out, try this one, uh, applying two input data table to get the answers and analyze this situation and what should be your answer. So just do that. This is your task, and again, it's a task, a 1 minute task. And if you have any question, Feroz, if there is any, I will try to answer.
Yes, there are two questions. While participants are trying to solve this exercise, let's take these questions. Zahra Azam wants to know, what if we don't follow the layout of settings, the values that is here, one row down, one column back. Did you understand, or should I unmute her and ask her to?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, try that one. If it works, then it's okay. But what I have learned, that if you, because it is predefined, there are certain programming involved in it. So I don't think it works if it changes. Again, I don't know. Maybe it works, but as far as I know, if you change the layout by changing some of the, say, one row up, one row down, or putting one, say, one empty row or one empty column, I don't know. If it works, then it's fine, but I don't think it works. Uh, the the key to learning is apply yourself. So you have the question that if you change the layout by say inserting one row or one column and applying this data table, would it work? If it works fine. It's fine with you. But it does not look fine. It does not look good, right? So as far as my understanding is concerned, the layout is more appropriate like this, and I don't think it works if we change the layout. Yeah, the second question.
Okay, the next question is from Shakil Ali. He wants to know how value is being incorporated. What if there is change in value of loan?
Okay, the answer is very simple. So there are certain variables that need to be, we say they're assumed to be a constant, right? So let it be. Okay, fine, fine. For example, let we have uh, we have applied the data table based on this model. Let's change it to loan amount to, for example, say 500,000. So let's see, does it have an impact? 500, 5,000. So does it have an effect? Yes, it does. So if we change the value of the loan amount, right? So it changes the data table, right? So But we cannot change the value of this much, but we can change the value of loan. I hope that answers. Okay, how many of you have done this? Yes, please, Feroz.
Just 4 or 5.
4 or 5 have done it.
Yes. There
What
are
about
some
the
questions.
rest?
I think there are some questions piled up. We should answer these, then move forward to our next exercise.
Okay.
Okay, so Arsalan Naseem wants to know, for data table, input cell must be from the model where formula is applied.
Yes, yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, the next is Abdul Rahman Bukar wants to know, having a formula at top left, will it not be a problem in presentation of the table?
You can hide the formula. The one thing that we need to understand that maybe that used to be a limitation, or maybe it's still a limitation. I'm not sure, but it used to be. So I was making a presentation to some of my client using this. So what I actually did, I apply the data table on this particular sheet and uh, copy paste that in somewhere else, so it disturbs it. So it is usually, I don't know whether it is changed. I need to do a bit of research on this, but where you have the formula, the data table should be in that sheet, right? So again, the key of learning is try it by yourself. If it works, then it works. If it won't work, then there is a limitation still exist. I hope that answers. Yes, any other?
From uh, there's one from Sayeda Asif. She wants to know, can we incorporate extension of payment period?
Sorry, which period?
Payment period. Can we incorporate extension of payment period?
No, again, there is whatever present in that mm, a model, we need to use the values of this. We cannot have the extension of this and that. So whatever present in the data model, in the problem model, right, we have to use these parameters, right? Okay, I think enough question for data model. So let's still we have a lot of things to do. Still we are left with an hour. So what is the answer to this?
Can you demonstrate the solution for this exercise so people would
Okay,
know
fine.
if they have
Simple,
found it correct or
simple,
not?
okay, fine, fine. Simple data, what if analysis, data table. Now we have this in place. Row input is quantity, the product. So we have 500 B2, and we have the column input, which is the price. In this case, is this much, and click OK, and you will see what will happen. So this okay. Did I think I did something wrong. Uh, okay, so what we have here, we have the cost minus sales, which is this much. Okay. So we have this much, we have the data, we have the part of analysis, we have the data table. The row input is the product. So we have the product 300, 400. This is the value, right? We have the input and we have this thing. Click OK. Okay, yes. So this is the answer. So if we set our price, the scenario says to achieve a break even, we have two options, right? The option is if we want to sold out our inventory, which is 500 at present. So if we set the price equal to 30, we can achieve the break even. And the second is that we should sell only 300 at the cost of at price 50. So this part is the profitability part. This part is the loss part. So that is the answer. So if you want to sell at a break even, so the 500 you want to sell out, so the price should be rupees 30 per product. So that is the answer. And I hope you have this table generated, right? Okay. Let's conclude this. I'm clicking this, closing this one. Now the scenario manager. Okay, so this is scenario manager. Okay, scenario manager. This is simple stuff again. So what scenario manager does? For example, look at this particular example is the family budget, right? In your company, you can develop a budget, right? You have the budget in place, the last year budget, you can get the copy of that budget, right? Put that in Excel, right? And then you want to look something, right? So if you change the value of something, what will be the output? Or you can develop different scenarios based on the existing model, right? So for example, I need to plan something. For example, 3 years or 4 years, 4 months down the road, I need to spend say maybe 300, 400 pounds. Yes, 300 pounds. So this is an example when I was in UK. So normally for a student, uh, this is a huge amount for a student. So these are the expenses, right? This is the income that we generate. These are the total expenses, and the income left is 46 pounds. So what we want to do is we want to say plan the expense that we foresee 3 months, maybe 4 months uh, uh, ahead, right? So what we need to see, we need to look at that. What are the expenses we can control? There are some expenses we cannot control, right? And we make certain adjustment and see that what will happen, right? And then we can compare the different scenarios, and we will come up with a more appropriate answer. So it is used, this feature of Excel is used in planning, in budgeting and stuff like this. So how to apply it? So let's do it. So this is the original model. So maybe this is the last month budget, or for a company, maybe this is the last year budget, right? And you need to plan it uh, for something. So what should be the values of the different variables, right? Or the different expenses, right? So this is only an example to demonstrate how a scenario manager works. Uh, So first of all, go to the data tab and save this scenario. What if analysis, and we have the scenario manager. Click that, right? We have this, and we have already two scenarios. Let delete those. Delete this one and delete this as well, right? So we don't have any scenarios. So this is the existing scenario. Save it, right? Add it, apply the scenario. This is for example, the last month scenario, month, the last month budget. This is the last month budget, right? Now the changing cells. Now changing cells means that there are certain expenses we can't control. For example, mortgage we can't control. Fuel bills, yes, we can control a bit. Council tax we cannot control. The credit card limit. So if you are paying the minimum amount, so you cannot control, right? Food, yes, you can control. Clothing, you can control. Phone bill, you can control. Direct debits, you cannot control. So there you identify a few of the controllable variables, right? So you can select changing cells. So in that case, uh, for example, you can control fuel bills, right? So fuel bill is at B4. So type B4. So this is B4. So B4 is a cell which represent the value of fuel bills. So that is the variable we can control, right? Then we have another variable, the council tax, the credit card, we cannot control. We have food. The food is at B7. So B7 is the cell we can control. Then put a comma, or you can drag it down if these two are consecutive cells. So we have B7, we have B8, and we can control the phone bill as well. Okay, fine. So we have identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 cells that we can control. Now click OK. So this scenario values, the dialog box come up, and we can, if we want to change the values of these variables, we can, but we are not doing it as it is. Just click OK. So we have, sorry, cancel it. We have one, the last one, budget, right? So we can show this. So this is the, now let's try another one. Add S1 is the scenario 1, right? Click OK. It will allow us to change the values of the identified cells. B4 is fuel bills. Let's say we save about 10 pounds from here. So it should be 75, 280, let it be 260. Don't go outside for lunch, take lunch at home, dinner at home. So we have B8 represent clothing, don't buy clothing. So maybe 120 we can save some from here. Phone bill, so don't talk, you can save some pound from here as well. So maybe it be 40. So these are some of the cut that you made on some of the expenses. Now click OK. So we have now two scenarios. One is the last month budget, one is the S1. We can add one more, right, if we want to. So let's add one more, and this is scenario number 2. So all things in place, click OK. So now here 85, so maybe 70 maybe, right? We have put a cut of 20 pound, maybe it is 20, right? This is 150, so let it be 100, right? And in this one we put I think 5, maybe let it be 35. So click OK. Now we have 3 different scenarios. This is scenario number 1. Click S1, show will have, this is the scenario number 2, and you see from scenario number 1, show we have 45. With this expenses, we can we able to save 46 pound. But for scenario 1, right, we can, if we show it, it says for this scenario you can save this much amount, and for scenario 2 we have show we can have 181. So these are the multiple scenarios. You can generate a summary of these scenarios as well. If I click the summary, generate a summary, scenario summary, or maybe not pivot table, click OK, and it will generate a summary somewhere in the next sheet. It will take a while, and it is processing. It normally does not take too much time, but it does. Okay, so this is the summary that is generated, right? So this is scenario 1, this is scenario 2, this is the last month budget, and these are the result of a different thing. So this is the summary of the three scenarios. You can use this, but there is a slight problem with this report. We have B4, we have B7, we have B8. It does not, it is not meaningful, right? So we have an alternative that we can replace these cell reference with more meaningful names. Let's see how we can do that. So delete this summary. Delete this summary. So let data table go back to a scenario. Go back to the scenario, which is original show. Okay. So this is the scenario. So this is the fuel bill, right? So what I'm doing, there is a concept name known as name range. Name range, right? Remember, name range. Name range means that we are giving a name to a range. This is giving a name to a cell in that concept. The smallest range is a single selected cell. So if this is a range and I want to assign a name to this cell, I can do that very easily by selecting a cell, which is 85. This represents a value fuel bills, right? After selecting the cells, I can go to the name box, which is this one, and type fuel, right? Fuel bills. Remember, I repeat, there it does not allow spaces in between the words. So either there should not be any space, or if you want to have an impact of a space, insert the underscore, right? So fuel bills, fuel underscore bills, right? Click OK. Then we have the food. This is the cell that represent a value food. So select this cells, go to name box, put a food here, click. Then we have the clothes, 150 representing clothes. B8, go to name box, put clothes, enter. Then the last one is phone bill. So this is 45. So go to the cell reference, B9 represent the value of phone bill. So phone bills, right? Click OK. And we have now the data table. We have the what if analysis, scenario managers. We have all the scenarios in place. Now the summary, right? Click OK, and you will see what will happen. It will generate a summary replacing the cell reference with the name name ranges. That makes your report more meaningful, more understandable, and from that report you can analyze it and you can make an appropriate decision. right? So look at here. So this is fuel bill, this is food, this is clothes, right? Uh, these are the variables. So these are some of the cell representing income, right? Total expenses and stuff like this, right? We can rename these. We can provide names to these ranges, just like we did over here. Now we can see that fuel bills originally was this one. We have changed it to this much and this much. And if we do that, we will have, say, uh, 181 pound saving. For this scenario, we can have 111, 111. So somewhere in between these two, you can adjust accordingly, and you can come up with a more appropriate a solution. So this is a planning tool. This is a budgeting tool. You can use this scenario manager tool in order to plan your budget and stuff like this. So this is the more realistic type of problem. So if you have any question, you can ask, and if you don't have any question, we can move to the pivot table stuff. Yes, please, Feroz, if the person have any question on this, then I try to answer. If they don't, then I can move to the pivot table.
Yeah, let me check forum. Shakil Ali wants to know how to incorporate any expense arising in future or any unusual expense incurred by the company. There are quite some questions piled up, so you can answer this one and then we can move to the next one.
Okay. Again, we have the static budget, right? So we have the budget already in place, right? And by looking at the budget, right, what we again we need to foresee, because it is a planning tool. Scenario manager is a planning tool. There are some things that we cannot foresee. It is for, this tool is only for those things that we can foresee. So we need to plan those things that we expect that something has to be done in future, right? So for unexpected thing, we don't have anything we can incorporate here, or what we can do, we can just add another account, and for unexpected events, we can incorporate in this way, right? That is the only solution in this particular tool. Yes, the next question. Yes, Feroz. I think I should. Okay.
Can we insert scenario analysis button in the sheet directly rather than going to ribbon? If yes, can you please explain how?
Sorry, say it again.
Can we insert scenario analysis button in the sheet directly rather than going to the ribbon? If yes, can you please explain how?
Button, you want to insert a button. When we click button, it will do that. Scenario analysis button. Oh, we need, yes, we can. If you want to put a button to generate a summary, if you want to generate a summary, and by pressing the button, the summary is generated. If that is the case, yes, we can, but we have to use a macro. So we have to develop a macro for this. So, and then we insert a button, assign that button to that macro. On clicking that button, macro will execute it, and your scenario sheet will come up, right? I hope that answers. Okay, I think the time is short. I have to cover a bit of pivot table because it is 22 minutes past 7. Still, we got 40 minutes, so I will try to do something on a pivot table, right? So I think I can only discuss the basics of the table, the functionality of the pivot table, some of the features of the pivot table. If the time permit, I can we developed a dashboard using a pivot table, but I'm not sure uh, whether we have enough time, but I will try my level best to do that. Okay, so let's begin the pivot table. For a pivot table, there is one thing we have to have data with us. So this sales data is uploaded. You can download it from here, or you can download it from the Google Drive, whatever the case may be. So for editing, okay, let it be read only. Maybe it does not allow me to. Okay, let me don't save it. Don't save it. Okay, so let me do this. Okay. But another, okay, read only. Okay, what I'm doing it, I'm copying this and putting it in other table. Okay, so this is the data set. Okay, this is the data set that this is a transactional data set, sales data, right? So first of all, we need to understand what data is saying. The answer is very simple. On the 1st January of some, maybe last year, whatever area it is, the city is Gujarat, the salesperson is Kamran. He sold a product named printer. The quantity is 5 and the unit price is this much, giving a discount of 6250, and the total bill amount is this much, right? So this is one record of a transaction, and the transaction detail is this much, right? So there are many transactions, right, at different locations, different product made by different salespersons. Now, what we want to do is we want to make the summary of it, right? We want to analyze this data. We want to make some sort of presentation. We want to develop certain dashboard out of it. So there are many things that we want to do. So one tool that can do all of this stuff, and that is the pivot table. So pivot table can be used for summarizing data, maybe analyzing data, maybe presenting data, uh, mm, or it may be used for any other purposes as well. But primarily, pivot table is a summarizing tool, right? It is a beautiful, it is a killer feature of Excel. You can do wonders with this feature if you understand it. It's very easy to use, right? There are few things that you need to do. Either you need to drag, you need to click, or you need to double click. So these are the things you do by developing a pivot table, by developing a dashboard. These only three things: developing pivot table, click, double click, or drag. That's it. No, apart from it, maybe some fine tuning. by changing the labels of the columns headers or the row labels. That is the only thing that you may want to do. But if you don't want to do that, but still looking at the data, analyzing the data, there is nothing more than these three things that you may need. Okay, let's have this data. We have the data here. Again, this is transaction data, but first of all, we need to look at the data. Remember, that is important. Important means that there are certain rules that we need to apply on this data set. Means the data has to be normalized. By data normalization, I mean that every cell of this data set has to be occupied by a certain value. There should not be any spaces in between. For any column value, there has to be a value in it. For example, if you look at here, I want to analyze the printer, right? The product is printer. What I did, I just delete printer. So the printer value is quantity of the quantity and the discount, and this amount will be missed, although the data will be present in some form in the pivot table, but it does not reflect the true summary, because we have missed printer, we have deleted the value printer from this data source that represent the values of the printer. And if we want to analyze this printer, this value will be missing from the printer, right? So it is imperative that your data source should be normalized. There should not be any spaces in between, right? That is rule number one. Rule number two is the column values should be consistent. Means if it is a location, that column must contain all the values of location. If a column is salesperson, it must contain the value of a salesperson and so forth, right? The column label represents some context. So the values should be within that a context, right? So that should be the case. So these are the few rules before developing a pivot table. The value is here. What we missed, we have missed printer, so let it be printer, right? So this is the printer. Now we want to develop a report. We want to create a table from this data source. It is damn easy. Select a data source. This is the data source. Select any value. Okay, there are a few things. There is one more thing, rather. It is good that we have a data source in the table format, right? We can have a data in the range format like this. This example, in this particular example, the data source is not a table, Excel table. It is simply a range of data, right? So the advantage of having a table is that if the table is extended, when we refresh the data, right, it will represent the change in the summary as well. And if we have the range of data, so we have to do a bit of extra thing in order to refresh the data that will represent that will take effect in the pivot table, right? So that, and the second is we can use the name of the table, right, in some of our advanced usage of a pivot table, right? So simply to start with, there is no need to convert this data source into a table. We can use this source as well. So select a single cell, of this data source, if we don't select a cell of this source, let's see what will happen. So this is the cell that is out of the data source. I click insert, then I have the group name table on the left of the ribbon. We have the pivot table. As soon as a pivot table is asked for me to get the range, right? So I can select it from here. But if I select one of the cell of this data source, insert pivot table, and it will automatically detect that whatever around this selection is the data source. In that case, that is correct. So we have the table or a range. So this is the range. Whenever we want to use a table, just type the name of the table, right? If we type the name of the table, it will get that source from that table, right? So this is the range. Then it asks for use an external data source. We can get the data from external data source. Maybe it is an SQL, maybe it is an Access, maybe some other source as well. We can create a connection if we want to, but in this case, let's leave it for the time being. Now, the last question is that there are two ways that we can create a pivot table, either in this workbook, in this worksheet, or in a new worksheet. So existing worksheet or the new worksheet, we will take this option a bit later when we develop a dashboard. But for the basics of the pivot table, let's go for new worksheet. Select this one and click OK. When you click OK, you will find that there is a new worksheet inserted with the change in the screen. Now, this is the area where your pivot table comes, right? And these are the features available that are helpful and that will be used to generate that table. Now, let's discuss a bit about this thing, pivot table fields. Pivot table fields, primarily, this feature is derived from the databases. So there are certain terms and terminologies which we have borrowed from the database. And one of the term is a field, right? What is a field? Field are the column names, right? If you look at the sheet number 1, we have the column label date, we have column label location. These will be considered as the fields. So these are field, date is a field, location is a field, salesperson is a field, and so on and so forth, right? So all these are fields. And when we develop a pivot table from this data source, these will be termed as the pivot table fields. So these are all the fields, right? So these are fields. Now, underneath this pivot table field, we have 4 coordinates, right? We have 4 parts of the pivot table. One is the filter, one is the column, other is the rows, and other is the values, right? If you look at this data table, we have 2 set of columns, rather 3 set of columns. One is the data is the date type, right? This is the date type. These are the values that represent the text values, and these are the columns that represent the numbers, the numeric value, right? So it has some significance here in the pivot table. So that part of the pivot table is for numeric values, right? So all numbers of the fields will come over here, right? And row and column, these are the part of the pivot table which are designated for the columns or the fields which are non-numeric or text-based, right? So for example, if I click amount, right? So since amount is a numeric value, it will come automatically here and will have the impact of amount right over here. If I click amount, so I have clicked amount, now this is the sum of amount. So pivot table gives the sum of this column, right? This column. This is the sum. This column sum is right over here, right? So this is the sum. If you want to have the sum of quantity, if you click, so you see this is the quantity, the sum of quantity. So let it be amount. Click, right? Now you want to know, or you want to generate a summary location wise. So you want to distribute this sum of total based on location. So again, it's very simple. Just click the location. Once you click the location, what will see this location, you will find the name of the pivot table field here. And in the pivot table, you will see your amount, the sum of amount is distributed with respect to the cities or the location, right? So the Faisalabad is this much, Gojra is this much, Gujranwala is this much, and so on and so forth. So if you want to summarize this data with respect to the salesperson, uncheck location, click salesperson, and you will see what will happen. So the same summary is now generated with respect to the salesperson. And again, if you unclick this, if you click the product, and you will see what will happen. The summary is now with respect to the product. So that is the beauty of the pivot table. You have just clicked so far and the summary are generated. It's very, very easy stuff, right? Okay. Now, for example, you want to add another element to it. For example, if you add the quantity, right? If you want to add the quantity, now see what will happen. So I've tried to click it. Okay, it's clicked here. So we have the sum of amount here. We have the quantity. So laptop sold this much and for this much amount. LCD is this much. Or what you can do, you can interchange, right? So if you want sum of quantity should come first, so just select the sum of quantity in that part and drag it upward, right? Or downward. Okay, and leave it here. So sum of quantity, we have sum of quantity here, and we have this much. So this is simple stuff, right? Okay. Now what you can do, you can filter this report as well. For example, you want to check based on location that what should be the result. So what you can do is, for example, we want to look at this report, or if you want to filter this report based on the location. So what you can do is, now hover your mouse pointer on location, click it and drag it to where the filter part. Click the here, right? Drag it here and release it here. Now we have the location here. So that is the part of the filter area of the pivot table. Now this is the summary report for this is all. If you want to say look at the summary for say Islamabad, so select Islamabad from here, click OK, and your report is sorted, is filtered. So if you want to change it
Can you also touch the slicer part?
Sorry?
Can you please touch the slicer part as well? How to
Yes,
add slicers to pivot table?
yes, I will. Don't worry, I will do that. Okay, we are left with 20 minutes, so the slicer part we will do it today. Don't worry. Right, so this is one bit of the pivot tables. You can filter your pivot table. You can add another filter. For example, you can drag it, and we have the second filter. So this is the Islamabad, and if you click, and for example, Badr Hussain or whatever, and you can, it is further narrowed down. So in Islamabad, the salesperson is this much, and we have this much. So Mr. Badr Hussain sold in Islamabad these product, these quantity, and that is the summary. So this is a simple pivot table. Okay, so you can remove, you can get all right from here. You can select it here, you can here, and again, this is all you can remove. You can drag it, or you can uncheck location, and you can uncheck salesperson. Our filter area is now empty, and we are back to this. So this is one simple way of filtering the data. The one important aspect of the pivot table is the layout, right? So it is important to understand what is the layout of the pivot table. The pivot table, there are three layouts of the pivot table. We need to look at the table. We want to change the layout for the table. Since it is developed for the summary, so we have three different layouts to present your summary, right? So what you can do is, this is the pivot table we have selected. We can analyze it. We have the pivot table. Sorry, we have the design. We want to design it, right? So the layout is in the design. Okay, one thing that I've missed, right? So this is the pivot table we have, but we select a cell outside this pivot table, right? When you select a cell within the pivot table, as I'm doing right now, what will happen? The pivot table fields, right, panel will come up, and similarly, I have two another contextual tabs, which is one is pivot table analyze and other is design. If I click, right, the contextual tabs are gone and the pivot table list is gone. Select this one, we get it back, right? So this is the contextual tab, right, for the pivot tables. So I'm using a contextual tab of pivot table, which is design. So click the design, and we have the layout, right? In layout, we have these report layout. If you click the report layout, we have three different layouts. One is the compact form, show in outline form, and show in tabular form. Tabular form, this is the tabular form, right? This is the tabular form. We want to present a summary in this format. So this is the table form, the tabular form, right? Now, by default, it is selected as a compact layout. Now, what is compact layout? Compact layout is that all your column headers or the values which are non-numeric, which are textual, that will come over here in one column. So let's see what I meant. So for example, I want to development hierarchy. So I want to see the location and the product. So what I will do, I will drag location, or I will click location and then interchange it. I click the location. I have the location now. I'm moving, taking location upward. So this is the location. This is the product. So you can see I'm developing in hierarchy. All values right over here, right? So Faisalabad, the Faisalabad subtotal of the quantity is this much, and the sum of amount is this much, and this is the distribution of Faisalabad sale right over here, right? So you can further development hierarchy. You can say induce a salesperson, right, after location. So we have the we have the location, we have the salesperson, and we have the products. Now look at this. This is the Faisalabad. this is the salesperson performance in Faisalabad, and this is the subtotal of Mr. Ali Bukhari. This is a subtotal of Mr. Shahid Hussain, and this is his performance in Faisalabad. So this is another view of your pivot table, right? What you can do with this particular, you can, and this layout is very useful in the form of presentation, right? You can right drag it, you can collapse or expand, collapse, right? So if you look at here, I collapse it, you can use this one, right? Look at this. So, okay, right? So you can hide, you can unhide the details in the compact layout. So this is the compact layout. Uh, 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 more values, more data in the compact layout. The area is small, it utilizes less area, right? But have more compatibility, more variation. But in some cases, we don't want to present the data like this, right? So expand all, expand. So we have the different option, right click, and from the contextual menu, expand, we have different option, expand, collapse, expand entire field, collapse entire field, and stuff like this. Here, collapse location, so expand entire field, so all will be expanded. Now, this is the compact layout. In the compact layout, we have the subtotals nicely in place, right? We want to now change the layout of this to say outline. So design, then we have the report layout, then we have the outline form. As soon as I've changed the outline form, your outline is your layout is changed. Now you see we have the Faisalabad at the top row. Underneath it, we in the next column we have the salesperson, but below the Faisalabad that describe the outline, right? So this is one way of presenting your data. The last one is the design. We have the design, and we have tabular form. So this is the tabular form. It should show in tabular form. Why it is not working? It should work, show in tabular form. Okay. Now, there is one issue with the tabular form. If you compare this with the compact form, in the compact form, the subtotal looks very nice, right? But here, it is a bit ugly, right? It is not nice. So it is recommended that in the layout other than compact, your subtotals, your grand totals must be off. So in order to do so, what we can do in the design tab, in the layout tab, we have in the layout we have the subtotal and the grand total. If you click the subtotal, do not show subtotals. If you click that, all the subtotals are gone. That looks a bit nice. But if you want to say put the Faisalabad, replicate Faisalabad, because this is the Faisalabad group, right? This is the Ali you want to fill in with the respective values. What you can do, you can design, and then you have the report layout, and then we have repeat all item labels. If you click that, and you will see it is nice looking tabular form. And if you want to remove these buttons which are here, so the thing is easy in the pivot table. So here is the show, pivot table analyze, show group. We have the field list, we have the button, we have the field heads. If you click this one, all these buttons are gone. So this is the replica of the group, but there are lesser number of uh, uh, fields, right? So this is you should understand the different layouts, right? These are important. Now I'm putting button back, going back to the where design, right? Grant, and we have the compact form, we have the subtotal, show subtotal at the bottom of the group or at the top of the group. There are two options, right? So at the bottom or at the top, whatever you want to select, right? So this looks nice. Okay. So what I want, okay, we are left with the how many minutes? 7 minutes. So let me do a slicer bit and then we will conclude and we will start right from here. So for example, we want to filter our reports. I want to say moving back quantity and putting a location, for example, here, right? So this is the report I want to filter, but not by the functionality provided by the pivot table of this, right? There is an extra, there is an added feature which was introduced in Excel 2010. Before that, it is not available, and that is the slicer. You can filter your reports using a slicer, right? And these are very good looking, user-friendly list that we can use to filter the data. Let's see how. For example, we want to analyze this report, this table with respect to a product, for example. So in the pivot table, contextual pivot table, click pivot table, and in the filter group, this is a filter group, we have the slicer, insert slicer. If you click that, it will provide you the list of pivot table, right, to which we want to make slicer. So we want to filter this report with respect to the products. Oh, click product. If you click product, click OK, and you will have a nice looking slicer, which is this, right? Click any of, for example, laptop. If you click laptop, your data set, your report is filtered with respect to laptop. So this is the data of laptop in different cities, right? For example, if I want to add the quantity, although it doesn't make sense in the original report, but if you use this slicer, it does make sense. For example, you want to remove, right? So this is all data. You want to filter the report with, for example, LCD. So this is the LCD. So I've filtered it. So in Faisalabad, 48 LCDs were sold, and the sale value is this much. And similarly, so on and so forth, right? So this is how we use filter. This is how we insert filter. How we use filter more intelligently, more aesthetically in tomorrow's session when we build nice looking dashboards. But before that, we will also discuss few of the things that how we can change the summary value. For example, if I want to summarize this data by count, by some other aggregation, how we can do that, how I can present this data in percentages. We'll do that tomorrow, right? We have just taken an overview of what the pivot table is, how we can create a pivot table, how we can filter the pivot table, how we can insert a slicer to filter the pivot table, and the bit of things, right? And the few of the functionalities, right? So I think that's it for the day. If you have any question, you can. We still got 3 minutes. We can conclude. To conclude, we can try to answer any of the question in these now 2 minutes. Yes, over to Feroz. If the participant has any questions so far, I will try to answer. But there are we have some of the topics we will cover tomorrow. Yes.
Can you please repeat what the assignment for tomorrow is? The participants that have to complete before tomorrow's session.
Okay, fine. If you, Feroz, can you, or maybe the participant can download this payroll data, right? This is the payroll data, simple stuff. There is an employee code, name, department, etc., etc. So they can generate some meaningful pivot tables based on this data. So that is their simple task for the tomorrow. And we will extend it tomorrow. We will have another task based on this data, but we have to learn few more things in order to use it properly. So tomorrow task is that using this data source, the employee data, generate some meaningful tables that has a functionality of filtering your data through a slicer. So that is the task.
I have uploaded this payroll data in the handouts.
You can, yes, you can upload in the handouts if you want to, or the participant can download from the Google Drive.
Yes, you can download from the Google Drive as well, but I have uploaded the payroll data in handout section. Just download it and do type in when you're done with downloading the file.
Okay, Feroz, is there a question, or we can delay their answers tomorrow?
Yes, just repeat what the assignment is. Just repeat once again, and we can conclude then.
Okay, fine. Okay. For your questions, we can take a note of your questions. We can try to answer those of your questions tomorrow, because the topic is still on. We will do a bit more thing tomorrow, or maybe your questions will be answers automatically, right? So that is one thing. We will try to answer your question tomorrow. As far as the task is concerned, the file is uploaded in the handout section, and the file is already present in the Google Drive. You can download it from there or from the handout section. The data is the payroll data, right? So what you need to do is look at the data, analyze this data first, and try to develop few interactive pivot tables. So by interactive pivot table, I mean that you can filter this data. For example, I can filter this data. So that is what interactive mean is that this pivot table is filtered with respect to laptop, now the printer, now the RAM and stuff like this, right? So developed few meaningful pivot table based on this data, which is interactive using a slicer. You can filter your data using a slicer and stuff like that. So that is your task, and that task will be extended tomorrow. So once we do more stuff on a pivot table, then we can add more functionality to your pivot tables. So that is the basic task for tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, then let's call it a day then. Feroz, Harun is
Yes.
here, or you can
So I have to make
continue.
an announcement for the participants. Guys, I have uploaded the important links file in the handouts as well. It contains the recording links of previous sessions as well as the access link to the Google Drive. I would suggest you all to download it, and the Google Drive contains the recordings file as well, which is updated on a regular basis. So what you need to do is to keep that Google Drive link safe, and you can access it to get the recording links whenever you want. Don't forget to download that.
Okay, is that it? I think that's enough information for you people today. Khurram, what do you think? How much of pivot table have we covered? About 50%, 70%? More or
Yes,
less?
around 40 to 50%. Yeah. So
Okay.
we need to do a bit more, and then we move to our dashboards. So I think we can cover in about 45 minutes tomorrow. We will able to build a dashboard.
Okay, all right. Please do share your feedback with us in the WhatsApp groups or through email. And I hope you enjoyed today's session. Slightly more productive in the sense that we've covered pivot tables. And the next session, which is tomorrow, is going to be even more interesting and more useful. So, and tomorrow, by the way, is going to be our last session for Microsoft Excel. After that, we will go for Microsoft Word, and then on Saturday, Khurram is going to come in and take you through Microsoft Access, in which we'll work on databases, reports, structuring tables in a database, etc. And on Monday, we are going to do Microsoft PowerPoint. It's not actually PowerPoint. It's about how to make effective presentations. So talking about infographics and relevant stuff. So that's the plan for the next few days. From Tuesday onwards, we're going to be spending 4 days on Power BI, and after that, Saturday, we will be having a practice session after about 2 weeks. So that's the plan for the next 2 weeks. I hope you'll all stay plugged in and continue to enjoy the sessions. I think the enjoyment will come when you spend time on practicing as well. So do take care of these assignments. Take time out, about 15, 20 minutes, half an hour at the most, and do your tasks that have been assigned to you, and that's how you can maximize your learning. With that, goodbye from here today, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.